Hello and welcome to my channel, I Win to Lose Gaming. In this video, we will be doing a full DPS showdown across all of Teyvat between three of the most popular Pyro DPS characters, Yoimiya, Hu Tao, and Diluc. What kind of I Win to Lose DPS showdown would this be without half the video being about builds, methodology, and disclaimers? Starting off with why these three characters. In case you aren't aware, there are 7 Pyro DPS characters in the game. Since my DPS showdowns have never had more than 3 characters for the interest of time and my own sanity, I polled you guys and asked who you wanted to see in a DPS showdown against Yoimiya. And Hu Tao overwhelmingly came in first place at 45%, with Diluc in a convincing second place. So there you go, that's how the contestants were determined for this video. Let's take a look at my characters' builds. Starting off with everyone's favorite and likely only known fireworks maker, 5-star Amber. Naganohara Yoimiya. Besides helping children responsibly play with explosives, Yoimiya has been met with extremely mixed perception, ranging from content creators calling her complete trash to her being a decent character. My Yoimiya will be running a few different builds throughout this video. The first one is with the Shimenawa's Reminiscence. With Pyro Resonance and with Child in the party, this puts her normal attacks at 80% damage potential. Now there's going to be a lot of different damage potentials used throughout this video. Before my Yoimiya, her basic attack damage potentials are typically between 78 to 83%. As for her other gear, she is using a Refinement 5 Thundering Pulse, she's at Constellation 6, and her talents are at 9, 11, and 11. Next we have the quirky prankster and cheerful 77th director of the Wangsheng Funeral Parlor. Hu Tao set records when she was released, both in single target DPS metrics and with the largest nuke in the game. Her first build is a build that fully utilizes her Constellation 6, which provides her 100% crit rate for 10 seconds, once every minute when Hu Tao's HP goes under 25%. This allows for Hu Tao to build full crit damage, some HP and attack, and also elemental mastery when needed. Here is her raw Pyro Constellation 6 build, which ranges between 80 to 86% damage potential, but not all situations are good for a Constellation 6 no crit rate build, and for my non-C6 Hu Tao builds, her damage potential ranges from 70 to 73%. She is using a Refinement 5 Staff of Homa. She's at Constellation 6 and her talents are at 9, 12, and 13. And lastly, we have the grumpiest grown-up in Teyvat, Diluc. Unlike all the other Pyro Vision holders, Diluc is a melancholic individual. Seeing your father murdered in front of you would do that to a person. Anyway, besides being a successful business tycoon and LARPing as Batman in his spare time, Diluc is the OG main DPS character of Genshin Impact. Let's be real, if you're a Diluc main, you've been farming the Crimson Wish domain every single day for practically a year. Your artifacts are going to be perfect. My artifacts are, unfortunately, hot garbage in comparison, but true Diluc aficionados have been farming for him forever. As such, in this video, my Diluc will be using 20% crit rate food to compensate for my lack of grinding for Diluc. Along with Pyro Resonance and Geo Resonance, this puts my Diluc at 105% damage potential for raw Pyro damage. But more realistically, this also helps me avoid the need for crit fishing, which just saves everyone some time. Diluc is using a Refinement 5 Wolf's Gravestone. He is at Constellation 6 and his talents are at 9, 12, and 11. Let's quickly go over the methodology in this video. Zhongli's shield will be used in scenarios where it saves time. There are a lot of different scenarios in this video, ranging from single-phased fights to multi-phased fights to a Vape showdown and even a nuking showdown. We'll also be taking all 3 of them with full teams for a spin through Abyss 12. And now for everyone's favorite section of the video, the disclaimers. First and foremost, any conclusion you reach is for you to decide. All of these runs are simply the best times I could muster given the constraints set in place in a reasonable amount of time. I did each of these runs multiple times and picked the best runs for each character in each situation. I have no agenda and nothing to prove. I make these comparisons because I find them interesting and enjoyable. There are most certainly oversights, unfairness, and execution errors, so feel free to point those out in the comments below. And with all that out of the way, without further ado, let's get started. I'm honestly starting to run out of witty things to say about the Cryo Regisvine, so instead, I wanted to take a moment to just say thank you. Thank you, Cryoregifine, for always being there for us. Thank you for always putting up a fight before you let us maul you to pieces. Thank you for always coming back in a few minutes, despite how we abuse you. Thank you for being my best plant friend and favorite volunteer, Cryoregifine. And what better way to thank our poor plant friend than to murder it with a dozen flaming arrows. Yoimiya's raw Pyro single target DPS is actually quite the spectacle, and mercilessly slaughtered our #1 volunteer in just 3.4 seconds. As for Batman, well, he's got a movie for you to watch, and it's called The Dawn of the Elemental Burst. 2 agonizingly long seconds later, Diluc can finally start swinging that massive sword around to dismember our poor plant friend in 7.6 seconds. Finally, we have Constellation 6 Hu Tao. People haven't been calling Hu Tao the single target queen for no reason. With a charge attack and a burst, Hu Tao gained another new customer for the Wangsong Funeral Parlor in just 2.9 seconds. As usual, our favorite volunteer is too weak nowadays, so let's forget about him and move on. Now we have Dvalin's Pimple. I am curious, if we actually fought Dvalin, how strong would he be? Considering a single pimple on Dvalin's neck has over 200,000 hit points, how much does the rest of him have? While Yoimiya often struggles to hit moving targets, giant pimples typically don't move, and if it does, you might want to get it checked out. Unfortunately for Batman, he forgot his utility belt at home and needs to slowly climb up Dvalin's neck. Then, after watching his movie, The Dawn of the Elemental Burst, Diluc can finally start swinging his sword to pop the pimple. Hu Tao, being the melee 5-star Amber that she is, has to laboriously climb up Dvalin's neck, and with a swing, charge, and a burst, no more pimple. Next is our third most favorite Shinznaya man, Child. Obviously everyone's favorite Shinznaya man is Victor. You know, the guy in the church that gives you primo gems for doing quests. And then there's everyone's second favorite Shinznaya man, Mikhail. Thanks to Yoimiya's high single target DPS and her ability to take out Child's first and second forms in a single infusion window, it took her nearly no time at all to take out 2 Shinznaya men. Then, third form Shinznaya man, despite looking extremely cool, stood no chance against someone playing with some fireworks. Thanks to the lack of needing to crit fish and opening up with Diluc's elemental skill into burst, Child doesn't end up blocking all of Diluc's normal claymore attacks, I think. Also, people don't talk about Diluc's downtime, but he also has downtime when his burst's pyro infusion is down. As such, I take the opportunity to funnel some energy to him via Bennett and Favonius Zhongli. After watching the full-length featured film The Dawn of the Elemental Burst twice in a single fight, Diluc disposed of everyone's third favorite Shinznaya man. So I actually managed to improve my Hu Tao's time substantially since the last video featuring her. Like Yoimiya, Hu Tao's absurd single target DPS is enough to dispose of the first 2 forms of Child in a single infusion window. Then, thanks to the exorbitantly long movie, Revenge of the Transforming Shinznaya Man, Hu Tao can sit back and wait for Constellation 6 to be ready again. Hu Tao also saved a significant amount of time by not needing Zhongli's shield. skipping ahead to another multi-phased fight where Hu Tao and Yoimiya cannot bypass their cooldown issues. We have the Magu Kenki. Wow, so Yoimiya managed to pull out a little bit ahead here. Why is that? Well, first of all, she's able to bypass a lot of her cooldown during Magu Kenki's respawn animation, and thanks to Zhongli's pillar proccing her burst. Then, second form Magu Kenki is just target practice for Yoimiya. Unfortunately for Hu Tao, she is forced to run a non-Constellation 6 build. For my Hu Tao, she ends up doing around 32% less damage on average, because she now needs a lot of crit rate. Regardless, still an effortless disposal of the unwanted puppet Magu Kenki. It's Diluc's turn, and you know what that means. We get to watch a couple more showings of the dawn of the elemental burst. In case you haven't noticed yet, Diluc's burst takes a very long time, with each cast taking around 2 seconds. However, with the help of his best friend Bennett and Favonius Lance Zhongli, Diluc managed to get his burst back up in time. Unfortunately, Magu Kenki lived for so long that it had time to blink away, but Diluc chased it down faster than Batman chasing the Joker. And for the last multi-phase boss fight, we have the Perpetual Mechanical Array, or our Lego friend. Over in Legoland, Yoimiya is having a boatload of fun unleashing her fireworks against a bunch of sentient bricks. We have another situation where the respawning period neatly aligns with Yoimiya's cooldowns. As such, it took just 2 infusions with no downtime for Yoimiya to take out our Lego friend. Hu Tao's run is very similar, but again, thanks to her needing to run crit rate, her charge attacks are much weaker than they were. Nonetheless, Hu Tao reliably took out its first form in time. Now perhaps the time difference here could be mostly attributed to which robot friend Hu Tao ended up having to defeat, but I'm not entirely sure about that. Regardless, a quick and easy fight for Hu Tao. No man, don't worry, I won't subject you to the entire Diluc fight, but Diluc wasn't able to take out the first form of the Lego boss before his Pyro infusion ran out. Even worse, the boss managed to get 2 attack cycles off before summoning his Lego friends. The boss will not go into panic mode and summon its Lego friends until it finishes whatever attack animation it's currently performing. Now you may have been wondering why my favorite volunteer, the Primo Geovishap, was saved for last, and that's because it's our most reliable large HP pool enemy, and we're going to see how they do with just raw pyro damage, as well as with Vape and Melt. Well, we're back to the previous trend of Constellation 6 Hu Tao stomping everyone. When you sacrifice all your crit rate for crit damage, this is the kind of damage you get. Unfortunately for Yoimiya, she is just shy of the amount of damage needed to one cycle the Primogeo Vishap. I do however believe that it's possible. Thanks to a couple of procs on her burst due to Zhongli's pillar, Yoimiya got her E up again a few seconds faster. Well, we're starting to see a clearly established pattern for single target boss showcases for Diluc, thanks to his long burst animation, worst single target DPS, and downtime on his Pyro infusion before getting his burst up again. Diluc falls far behind the other two for single target DPS. But in this video, I'll also be showcasing Vape with Xingqiu as well. Well, Hu Tao absolutely dominated this one again, being able to vape literally all of her damage, and abuse Constellation 6, Hu Tao only needed 4 charge attacks and her burst to take out the Primogeo Vishap. Hu Tao went from an already impressive 10.1 seconds to 4.9 seconds. Yoimiya also saved a lot of time, but mostly thanks to being able to take out the Primogeo Vishap in just one cycle. As such, Yoimiya did not have to wait for the second cycle of her E, going from 15.5 seconds to 10.2 seconds. Diluc also saw a very large improvement, but still struggled to take out the Primogeo Vishap in a single infusion from his burst. I tried this dozens of times to pull this off, and still ended up getting hit by the Primogeo Vishap near the end. Regardless, Diluc went from 27.1 seconds with a Celestial Shower to 19.9 seconds. If we look at the DPS improvement, and also factor in the Celestial Shower for Diluc's run, we can see that Yoimiya had a 51% DPS increase, Diluc had a 60.52% increase, and Hu Tao had a whopping 105% DPS increase. Yoimiya's DPS increase is mostly due to her taking out the Primogeo Vishap in a single cycle, so this doesn't necessarily reflect how much more damage she's actually doing. And we have one last showcase, a full Nuke team. I start timing from when the character takes action for this one. That was a lot of stuff and took me ages to compile all those clips, but now let's dive into the Abyss, where there are multiple targets to smack around. Perhaps Diluc's AoE multiplier can help Batman catch up to the two Ambers. But really quick, let's take a look at their team. Diluc's team will use the tried and true Diluc, Bennett, Xingqiu, and Zhongli. Now I wanted to keep the teams fairly similar, so Yoimiya will replace Xingqiu with Kazuha. Let's be real, Diluc without Xingqiu is very painful to use, but Yoimiya really does not rely on Xingqiu at all. Hu Tao, on the other hand, can't really use Bennett or Kazuha without a second Pyro teammate, so she gets Amber instead. Why Amber? Well, Amber provides Pyro Resonance, her Constellation 6 provides 15% attack, Noblesse Oblige provides 20% attack, and a Refinement 5 Elegy provides 40% attack and 200 Elemental Mastery. Barring another DPS character like Ayaka or something, Wailed Amber is one of the better supports for Hu Tao. Also, since I only have one Staff of Homa, Zhongli on her team will be using the Primordial Jade Wing Spear. Please remember that there are a few disadvantages for Hu Tao's team due to her restrictive team building and me only having one Refinement 5 Staff of Homa. Starting off with 12-1-1, we can see that this Zhongli strategy is fairly reliable. I wanted the supports to perform similar roles across all three teams, so that way these characters can focus on their role of doing lots of pyro damage. By using Bennett, Zhongli, and Xingqiu, the first wave is nearly wiped out and Diluc can get the killing blow to activate the Wolf's Gravestone. Unfortunately, trying to hit both these samurai clowns with Diluc's AoE is extremely unreliable. Nonetheless, this time is the current world record for Diluc's 12-1-1 performance if you rely on Diluc as the main DPS. It's worth noting that this run is definitely doable in 26 seconds, but I never got the correct RNG to make that happen. Yoimiya's opening is very similar to Diluc's, but instead of Xingqiu finishing off the first wave, Kazuha did the job instead. Then with a full stack of buffs, Yoimiya mercilessly gunned down the two samurai at the end of 12-1-1, faster than you can say something that takes longer than 11 seconds to say. Hu Tao actually struggles in comparison in Abyss, at least for the first chamber. The reason is that she starts with full HP. Nonetheless, with a bit of help from Xingqiu and Amber, we can still save Hu Tao's E infusion for when the two samurai spawn. Even after her E infusion ends, she can still chuck Xingqiu's water swords to finish the job. Now for 12-2-1, here's a situation where Diluc's AoE is practical and powerful, being able to hit both the mid-churls. And then after Zhongli's burst, Diluc is able to hit both the Abyss Mage and the Lava Churl for a quick clear of 12-2-1. By relying on her teammates to clear weaker groups of monsters like the two mid-churls at the beginning, Yoimiya can then step up and output her insane single target damage onto the Abyss Mage and the Lava Churl. You might say that Yoimiya was carried by her teammates, but just wait till you see how Hu Tao was carried by Amber. Thanks to Amber's elegy buff, damage, and pyro amplifications, Xingqiu is able to one-shot the mid-churls. Then simply bait the Abyss Mage and Lava Churl to the edge of the map and petrify them with Zhongli. Afterwards, Amber's burst is back to break both the Abyss Mage's shield and the Lava Churl's shield. By removing both their shields, Hu Tao is able to apply Hydro onto them in order to Vapor burst. Last but not least, we have 12-3-1. Yoimiya's high single target DPS was able to quickly and effortlessly dispose of the first robot. But then came Yoimiya's biggest weakness, more than one target. With her burst and with all her team's AoE damage, the robots were left at death's door and thus Yoimiya could finish them off one by one at the end. While Diluc's single target damage is poor, Xingqiu's is not. Xingqiu's Vape and a gazillion water swords helped Diluc clear out the first robot pretty quickly. Then it was Diluc's time to shine by hitting multiple petrified robots within his AoE. Admittingly, this took a lot of attempts to line up the robots just right, but it was all worth it in the end. This is by far Diluc's most competitive performance to the other two Amber reskins. Hu Tao pulled ahead by a tiny bit thanks to the Nuke favored composition of this floor. After quickly taking out the first robot with Hu Tao's Vape charge attacks, it became a matter of doing around 200,000 damage to each of the robots before vaping them with Hu Tao's burst. Well, somehow it went accordingly to plan, and Hu Tao took home the victory. So here it is, the aggregation of all the runs and times in this video. From a single target DPS perspective, I think that a no crit rate C6 Hu Tao has the highest out of these three. She's followed by Constellation 6 Yoimiya, which is a tiny bit better or just slightly worse than a non-C6 built Hu Tao. As for Diluc, well, it was interesting to see how much I've improved as a Diluc player and also to see how modern characters are compared to older ones. Does this close performance by Yoimiya means that she's good? Well, I do enjoy speedrunning, and sadly Yoimiya struggles to carve out a role in speedrunning. Currently, 2 of the fastest single chamber times include Hu Tao. Yoimiya currently has no world record times that I'm aware of. Will Yoimiya be able to find a role in speedrunning in the future? Only time will tell. As for Diluc, well, sadly he hasn't held a record in speedrunning since that Oceanid event. So what do you think about Yoimiya's performance? Do you think she's as terrible as everyone has been saying that she is? Were you surprised by the results of this video? I was personally pleasantly surprised by how well Yoimiya performed, and although she has not set any records that I'm aware of, she feels far from being the worst character in Genshin Impact. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. This is I Went to Lose, signing out.